so excited to dive into our business highlight today. I'm Taylor Proctor and really delighted and honored to be speaking with Kelli Bond. So Kelli owns an in-home preschool business that she just opened up this year, 2023. She has a bachelor's degree in marriage and family studies. And before her business, she was a daycare director. And during COVID-19, she opened a nonprofit for homeschoolers that was dissolving a year later when her son went back to public school. She's raising money to help families who are struggling to pay for preschool. And every dollar earned will help sponsor a student's tuition for at least 1 month. So really delighted and excited to jump into Kelli's story and information about her business. So thank you so much for joining me today, Kelli.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's kick it off with what inspired you to transform from being a daycare director to starting your own in-home preschool, and how your background, bachelor's in marriage and family studies, influenced going that route.
Yeah. So when I was working as a daycare director, I was working long hours, 45, 50 hours a week. And I was having to be at the daycare sometimes 10 plus hours a day. And my husband, during the time I was a daycare director, he is in the military and he had to leave for some military training. And so during this 2-month period that my husband was gone, my assistant director at my daycare actually also went on maternity leave. So not only was I working stuff alone at home, I was also doing stuff alone at the center. And my assistant director actually ended up quitting at the end of her maternity leave. So I didn't have an assistant for about 4 or 5 months. But so I was working with having to bring my kids every day for about 10 hours a day. My oldest, who was in elementary school, was getting sent home wasn't getting sent home, but when he got home from school, he was home alone for sometimes 4 or 5 hours. And so it was a lot on my family, from just not being available for my kids and for my family. Sorry, I have a kiddo who wanted to come say hi. We were things were rough. My kids were getting sick a lot. I was having to bring my sick kids to the center because there wasn't anyone to take over. So I was in charge. That was it. It was a large corporate run center, so it could hold over 500 students.
Oh, wow.
But
you're the only one there.
And I was the only one. I did have a few other management people, but they weren't to the level of a director, so they weren't able to be in charge of things by themselves. So it was just, me in charge, and it was the corporate. So corporate owned about 15 locations, and they would send somebody over here and there to help out. But a lot of times they would come with the agenda of what the corporate wants done, not really there helping me with what I felt needed done. So I still had a lot to do and didn't have much help. After my kids were getting sick, I had a kid who ended up having a seizure during that time. My child, my kids were just constantly sick and having issues. And I was like, I can't keep doing this to my family. Right. And so I quit in January of this year. And I was like, okay, now what am I going to do? I still need to make money and help out with our finances, but my kids need me at home. And after praying and contemplating, I felt inspired to open up my in-home preschool. And that way I am available for my family. I'm here at home, but I'm still bringing in the income. And if my kids need me, I can cancel class for the day if I absolutely have to, and be there for my kids. So that really has taken a burden off of my shoulders now that I am doing this from home. And my bachelor's degree I have in marriage and family studies, and it really kind of helps push that need of family. How important family is to children and their development. And So it really kind of helped comfort me that like, yes, this is exactly what I need to be doing. And not only that, it actually helps me when it comes to the families that come to my preschool, because I am able to help them by providing different activities and things that the family can come do together, have quality time together. And really, I am there to help these families grow and help their children to develop. That's another thing that I learned with my marriage and family studies, is all the different things that children need to develop properly. And I'm able to put that into my preschool.
I love that. That's amazing. And I have to call out your background too. Like, it's obvious that you're running an educational and amazing preschool, because you can just see it in the background. I love it.
Thank you.
So obviously running a preschool when it was in the corporate side was challenging. I'm sure it's challenging even in an in-home, and definitely from that entrepreneurial level. So what practical strategies do you employ to maintain consistency and quality in your educational approach, especially in the in-home setting?
Well, for kids, they need the consistency in their schedule. So like, I can turn this up, those little papers right there, you can't really see it from the camera, but it's a visual schedule for the kids. So they know like, oh, when we come in, we'll do a little bathroom break. We're going to do these little tubs, which I have morning tubs that have like little sensory and some little skills that they can work on, the fine motor skills. And so they work with those little bins, and it's just like a little game to them, but it's like, putting beads with tweezers, separating them by colors and doing different things like that. And every month I change those bins up, so they have a new bin to play with every month. But so we do morning bins, and then we clean up, and we do circle time where we, sing, and we do our calendar and alphabet and story time. And then they go to centers where they learn through play. And so we have different specific activities sometimes, especially in our dramatic play. I like to have that part of our theme, so they can learn with the theme and be able to play hands-on. And during that hands-on time, I will take kids one by one. Okay, just a minute, Paul. Sorry. So I do one-on-one with the children during their center time. I will pull them one-on-one. We will do assessments. I'll do little art projects that need a little more attention one-on-one. With my assessments, I'm able to see where each kid is at and what that specific kid needs to work on. And so we will be doing that during the center time, and then we'll clean up, we'll have snack. And then after snack time, we start some learning time, and we do curriculum with Handwriting Without Tears. And we do, I have like a whole plethora of curriculum, but so Singapore math and all about reading. We learn all these different concepts, with our letters and numbers and everything. And then we will take time to go outside and play. I don't have a playground yet. I am hoping to eventually be able to buy one. But we do have a bounce house. So, because actually during COVID-19, my landlord was like, you can't buy a playground because we don't want that ruining our yard. And so I was like, well, what about something that I can like take down? So he let me buy a bounce house. So we bought a bounce house for COVID-19. So now I have a bounce house that I can put up for the preschoolers when the weather is nice. So we can go outside, we can play. I usually play games when we don't have our bounce house up. And then we'll come in. Sometimes our outside time gets pushed to like the last 20 minutes, and we just stay outside till parents come. But for the most part, we'll come back in and we'll finish up a little bit of learning or art and kind of have a little closing, and then we'll head out to our parents. But that consistency helps the kids know, okay, this is what's coming next. And being an in-home setting, that helps kids feel a little bit. So kids who are coming to preschool typically come from home. They've been at home. They haven't been at daycare, because those daycare kids are usually doing preschool during their daycare time. And so these kids who come to just preschool, they're used to being home. They're not used to a big center and big things going on. And so with having an in-home preschool, this kind of bridges that gap, and it makes it so that they can take smaller steps from going from home into a big school. So by the time kindergarten comes, they're ready. And they're not only ready academically, but they're ready socially and able to handle that big facility.
I love that. Let's talk for a second about the kids coming from home and your fundraising initiative, because I think those are pretty closely aligned.
Yeah. So I am hoping to raise some money. My goal is actually to sponsor 3 students for the entire spring semester. And I am actually $145 close to getting 1 student sponsored for the entire spring.
Oh, excellent.
So I only need $145 and I can sponsor 1 more. If I can get up to $1,500, I can sponsor 3 students. And once I find out kind of what my budget is, I will be putting out a little thing on Facebook, letting families know that if they want to nominate a family, or if there is a family who feels that they want to have this sponsorship, they'll be able to fill out this form, and I'll be able to give these sponsorships to those in need.
Amazing. And those in need being kids that are coming from homes that are preschool age, ready for preschool, but unable to afford it.
Yes. Like, for instance, I actually do have a student already who they were coming to me for a few months, and then their parents were like, we just can't afford this. And they had to pull their child from preschool. And it breaks my heart to see that, you know, these kids aren't able to get that education because of financial problems.
Right.
And, you know, I'm like, I'm not a government funded preschool, but what I can do is I can raise that money, and that way I can have the funds available for those students. And I am so close to being able to sponsor 1 for the entire thing. And if I can't sponsor them, I can at least sponsor them for so many months.
Yeah, which is so neat.
Yes.
And to give them such a leg up in education and in their growth for the rest of their life.
I want these kids to be ready for kindergarten, because kindergarten now, like, they're expected to know a lot more than it used to be. And even though kindergarten still isn't required here in Utah, but they have moved kindergarten to all day. I currently have a kindergartner in school, and he's there all day, and they're expecting so much of these kindergartners that if they don't know a certain amount before they get there, they're struggling, because they're needing to know so much more than it used to be.
Which could really set the tone for how they feel about education, their knowledge, their whole life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So needed. So let's talk about what your future goals are for your in-home preschool, and how you plan to expand or evolve those efforts.
Yeah, so I actually this summer am planning on hiring an assistant. I do summer camps during the summer, and just a minute, buddy. So during the summer, my summer camps, I actually open up to older children too, to elementary school age. So I am planning this summer to separate the age groups a little bit, and we'll do the younger age group in the morning and the older age group in the afternoon. But what I do with my summer camps is I have certain themes that I do, and I rotate them every summer. But I just change my classroom. So when it comes to a theme, my classroom gets engulfed in this theme, and it's like you're walking into this entire theme. And so not only is my classroom and my activities this theme, they get to do a field trip. We do a little ceremony at the end with the parents, and it's a blast. The kids love these summer camps, and with having an assistant, I'm able to hold more kids and be able to help that. And during the school year with my assistant, we'll be able to have more kids. I can have up to 14 kids in my group, which having an assistant will keep that ratio of 1 to 7, where we can still do that one-on-one time with the kids and still focus entirely on those kids' needs. And so after we fill up our classes, the plan is to, I'm currently running as a sole proprietorship, and the plan is to switch over to an LLC and be able to continue to grow and possibly even get into a smaller center. I don't want any large center because I still like the small feeling, the home feeling, and but just keeping that feeling of being small while having the ability to grow as a business.
I love it. So to wrap things up for us today, would you mind sharing a particularly impactful moment or transformation that you've witnessed, whether it's in your career or in the children that you're supporting through your preschool or the nonprofit?
Yeah. So I noticed a transformation just immediately when I opened up my preschool, not only in my family where like my kids were having less behavioral problems because I was available to them. And um, but also the families that come to me, I am able to have like during the summer camps, we had ceremonies after every summer camp, and these families were able to be there for their kids, and their kids are like, look what I did, mom. And um and so with my preschool, we even, just this last October, we went on a field trip to the corn maze, and the families all got to come and spend quality time together. And then in my nonprofit, so my nonprofit, when COVID-19 hit, my oldest was in kindergarten. And he only got to do like half of a year of kindergarten before COVID hit. And they had to finish kindergarten out at home. And he was like, Mom, I really don't want to wear a mask next year. Like, that's a long day. I don't want to wear a mask, because he was only doing half days of school anyways. And then so going for an entire day wearing a mask, like I just wasn't going to force it on him. And so I was like, that's fine. I have no problem homeschooling. We'll just, try it out and see how you do. And so we were starting to homeschool, and I was like, I need to get a co-op because that's the best way to keep these kids engaged socially. And I thought I found a co-op, but they were like, after one day, like at the time I had my first grader, and then I had a 2-year-old and a baby. So I would bring my 2-year-old and baby with me to the co-op, and they were like, sorry, we can't do this. Like, you can bring your oldest, but you can't bring the other two. And I was like, well, I kind of need like the whole point is like homeschooling is being able to be with my entire family. And so I was struggling to find a co-op that was willing to be open to having the younger siblings come too. And so I was like, I'm just going to create that co-op. And I didn't know any other homeschool families. And so I was just like, I'm just going to post on Facebook that I'm doing this co-op. And within the first day of opening up my Facebook page, I had 60 people join my Facebook page. And I called it Homeschool Co-op for Young Families, because I was like, that way it kind of influences, like, you're welcome to bring your younger children. Right. And with 60 people joining, I was like, that's a lot of people. I can't have that many people in my house. And so I was like, I've got to run this on a larger scale. And so I looked into creating this nonprofit. And this nonprofit, it was available for just helped homeschool families get together and we did field trips, we did play groups, we did lessons. And we were really there just as a support group for all homeschool families. It wasn't a requirement to attend all or want, if parents wanted to come to lessons, they would come to lessons, and we would rotate who taught. If they wanted to only do play groups, they would only come to the play groups. And it was just a resource available for homeschoolers. And I actually was able to find someone who donated money to help us have a facility. So we were able to rent a facility during that year to be able to meet for groups and for different things. And it was such a blessing on these families, especially during COVID time, when it was like things were shutting down. And, all these families are just like, what do we do? You have social distancing, you have all these things, and like, how do you still be able to get together with others? So we were able to kind of bridge that gap and kind of be there for the families while still trying to stay on the COVID-19 safe side. And so, but after that year, I dissolved it because my son wanted to go back to public school, but there wasn't anyone who wanted to take over the nonprofit. But with that, there was so many families that came to this nonprofit that they branched out and they created their own little co-ops that they still get together and they're still running. And it's made such an impact to just be able to provide these things and abilities for other families too.
Yeah, so amazing. And like my business owner brain is going, already you've talked about how you're looking to scale and expand. You've already talked about your numbers of like employee to student ratio. You've talked about your nonprofit experience, right? There's just so many things that can be applicable to business owners of any type watching this to be able to apply, even if they're not running a preschool. So, so awesome. And thank you so much for
of course
being candid and sharing your experience with us today. So I want to wrap this up with you reminding us again about your GoFundMe and that campaign so that anybody watching knows exactly where to go. We have the link in the description of this event, of this live, but tell us about it again so that everyone knows where to go and that we can help support these little preschoolers getting their early education and a jump start.
Absolutely. Thank you. So with this GoFundMe, I am hoping to raise $1,500. If I raise that $1,500, I will be able to sponsor 3 students for the entire spring semester. I am $145 short of sponsoring 1 student from January to May. So once I get that $145, I'll be able to sponsor 1 student fully. That means they won't have to pay me anything. Nothing will come out of this family's pocket, and they will be able to attend preschool twice a week, coming to me. And they will be included in all of our field trips. They will be included in all of our programs and everything with these sponsorships. So no penny will come up from these families' pockets. And once I get this finalized, I will put out a little form for parents to fill out and for others to nominate families to be chosen for these sponsorships. I would love to be able to sponsor as many students as I can, especially with this being my first year. I have space. I want to fill it. And if I can fill it with sponsorships, that would be amazing. Because there are so many families that need the care and they want their children to be prepared and ready for kindergarten, but they just do not have the funds, and I want to be able to provide that for them. Amazing. So go check out our GoFundMe link. And if you don't like GoFundMe and you want to sponsor us through a different thing, just let me know. I have, Venmo and other ways to collect money. So
love it. And you guys can reach out to Kelli. She is in our Get Good at Business group. So I'll make sure to tag her in the comments below this video, as well as you can go to our members section and check her out there. Feel free to DM her, chat, ask more questions, etc. And we have a couple people who joined live and just said hello and good afternoon. So excited you were able to join us. Feel free to ask any questions in the group as well. And Kelli, again, thank you so much for joining us today. And hi, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Hi. And we really appreciate you being so willing to share about your business and share your story and your journey. So thank you so much. And we will go live with another business owner in this group soon. We have our next one on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So be sure to tune in for that, and we'll see you around.
All right. Thank you.